office of the Always Believe House. Today we're going to continue simplified square roots. You're going to learn to add and subtract square roots together and multiply. Ho, 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 ho. F-U-N, fun, fun, fun. Okay, before we start this, let's go to the right and let's write down a few rules here. Okay, if I have, let's just say 2 square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 5. Okay, notice my square root of 5s are the same, aren't they? I can add up how many square root of 5s I have. This would be 2 of them, this would be 3 of them. All you do is add up those coefficients. So the square root of 5 is kind of like a variable. So on this one, we're just combining the like terms. This would turn into 5 square root of 5. So you just add up the coefficients. Let's do this one. The square root of 4 times the square root of 9. First, let's do it one way. So the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6 in it. Correct? The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. You can also do it this way. Multiply these numbers. If you multiply the numbers, they get bigger though. So 4 times 9 is 36, and the square root of 36 would also be 6, wouldn't it? So when you multiply the numbers inside the square root symbol, the radical signs, okay? And lastly, let's do this. Let's do 5 square root of 3 times 2 square root of, let's do 7. Okay, so on this problem here, I'm going to multiply the outside numbers and I'm going to multiply the inside numbers. So 5 times 2 is 10 and 3 times 7 is 21. So this would turn into 10 squared root of 21. It would be the same as the other part. Okay, so what we're going to do on this worksheet is we're going to add and subtract the square root symbols together and we're eventually going to multiply. So we're going to learn how to do this. Remember, you've never done this before. Make sure you're doing the problems I'm giving you. I am posting the keys. Make sure you can do these. Your test won't be as hard as the ones at the end. So it starts off pretty simple and it gets harder on these problems. Your tests will be like the ones in the middle, okay? So let's go to number 1. Now then, important here, if the square root symbol doesn't have a number in front of it, same thing as a variable, there's a 1 there, okay? So on this problem here, I'm going to do it this way. 3, 3, negative 1, negative 1. So I'm doing 3 plus 3 plus, or minus 1, and then I got a square root of 3 symbol, right? That square root of 3 symbol is like a variable, okay? So all you're doing is adding and subtracting your square root symbols. 3 plus 3 is 6, minus 1 is 4. This is going to turn into 4 square root of 3. So all I did on this problem was combine the 3, the negative 1, and the negative 1, and those go down to right here, don't they? The square root of 3 won't change. And remember, you can't add a square root of 3 to a square root of 5. The square roots have to be identical to combine them up. Let's go to the next one. Okay, on the next one, I'm going to single underline my square root of 3s, and I'm going to double underline my square root of 6s. So you put your answers in order of square root amount. The smaller square root goes first, the larger square root goes last. So I'm going to group negative 3 and positive 2. Negative 3 plus 2 is a negative 1, square root of 3, and remember, we won't put the 1, will we? So we have a negative square root of 3, and my 6 is going to be negative 1 minus 2. Negative 1 minus 2 is a negative 3, and the 6 stays 6. So you don't change the square root numbers, do you? All you're doing is adding and subtracting the numbers in front of the square roots, just like adding up x's and y's. Okay? So this right here would be my answer. Let's go to number 5. Okay, on this one here, I have square root of 3s and square root of 2s, don't I? The square root of 2 smaller, it gets a single underline. That's the only one I got in it. Then I'm going to double underline my square root of 3s. The single underline goes first, the double underlines goes second. I only have one single underline, so I'm going to start my answer off with negative 3 square root of 2. Now then, I'm going to group negative 1, and plus 3. So negative 1 minus 1, plus 3, negative 2 plus 3 is a plus 1 in it. So it's going to be plus 1 square root of 3, and remember, you don't put the 1s, do you? So this right here would be my answer. Ho, 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 ho. This is pretty simple because all you're doing is adding and subtracting single-digit numbers. The square root symbols won't change. Let's go to the next one. Okay, we have 3 square root symbols on this, don't we? So we have the square root of 3, double underline the square root of 5, triple underline the square root of 6s. Okay, now then we're going to go left to right, and we're going to put the single, the double, then the triple. I only have one single, right? So 3 square root of 3. I only have one double, minus 2 square root of 5. And then I have these two. I got to group this and this, don't I? So 2 minus 1 is a plus 1. Square root of 6, and I don't put the 1, do I? So this right here is the answer. So all the math I did on that is just 2 minus 1. It's the only arithmetic I did. Put the square roots in order from least to greatest, and just group the coefficients up. Ho, 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 ho. Let's go to the next one. Now then on the next one, I could simplify the square root of 24. So 24, real quickly, is 3 2's and a 3. And I could circle a set of 2's, can I? This is the first time we've done this. Let's go over here to the right, because you need to see one of these. Let's say I have 5 square root of, let's do 18. Okay, 5 square root of 18. 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. I'm going to circle my 3's, and I'm going to pull out a 3, right? Notice these two numbers are on the outside now, aren't they? I'm going to multiply that 3 and that 5. I'm going to multiply my outside numbers. This will turn into 15, and the 2 stays inside. So if there's a number outside, whatever you pull out is going to get multiplied, okay? You did not do that yesterday, but now you are, okay? So let's go back to our problem. So I'm going to pull out a 2, but I have this negative 3, don't I? So now then, let's rewrite the problem with the simplified radicals. So we have negative square root of 3. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Square root 2 times 3 is 6. And then plus 3 square root of 3. Notice there's a 2 and a 3 left inside, and so you multiply that and you get 6. Now then, I'm going to single underline the square root of 3's and double underline the square root of 6. Notice this 3 has a 1 right here, doesn't it? So my single underlined coefficients are negative 1 and 3, right? Negative 1 plus 3 is a positive 2, square root of 3, and the square root of 6 just drops. So this right here would be my answer. Ho, 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 ho. Let's go to number 11. Okay, the prime factors of 3 are 1 and 3. None of them repeat, right? But 24 does. So 24, you're going to have to prime factor. If you need to use the calculator, use the calculator. Menu, number, factor, and then type in 24, and it'll give you the prime factors. 12 can also be prime factored to 2 times 2 times 3. So make sure you simplify these square roots before you start adding and subtracting them. Now then, I could circle 2 right here. I could pull out a 2, and I could circle these right here, and I could pull out a 2, can I? So this is going to drop. 3 square root of 3. I'm going to multiply these up, aren't I? So 2 times 3 is 6. These stay inside square root of 6, right? Then I'm going to go to the next one, plus. I'm going to multiply this together, right? 2 times 2 is 4. And then this stays inside square root of 3. Now then I'm going to single, underline, and triple, or double it. These get single, this gets a double. I'm going to group my square root of 3's together. 4 plus 3 is 7. Square root of 3 plus 6 square root of 6. This would be my answer. Ho, 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 ho. Continuing on. Turn the page. Okay, on this problem here, they're all going to be simplified. You got to simplify them, then add them and subtract them, okay? Should start getting better at this. This is the last one like this I'm going to do for you. So I'm going to write the prime factors of 45. I know them, so I don't have to punch them in the calculator. If you need to use the calculator, use the calculator. 45 is going to be 3 squared times 5. 20 is 2 squared times 5. And 18 is 2 times 3 squared. Okay, so you just write down the prime factors below. Now then I'm going to circle my pairs. So I could circle a set of 3's. I'm going to pull out a 3. Circle a set of 2's. I'm going to pull out a 2. Circle a set of 3's. I'm going to pull out a 3 on it. Now then I'm going to multiply the outside numbers and multiply the inside numbers. So right here I'm multiplying 3 times negative 2. That's going to be negative 6, and my 5 stays inside. Right here I'm going to do 2 times negative 2. 2 times negative 2 is a negative 4. My 5 stays inside. See what I'm doing? Right here, I'm going to multiply 3 times 3, which is a plus 9. My 2 stays inside. Now then, look, do you have any square roots that are the same? The square root of 2 would go first, and the square root of 5s are going to go second, right? So my 9 square root of 2 goes first, and then I'm going to do negative 6 minus 4. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10 square root of 5. Ho, 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 ho. You are simplifying radical expressions because you have more power. Ho, ho, ho. F-U-N, fun, fun, fun. I'm going to let you do 15 on your own. And then we have some multiplying here, okay? So let's go to number 17. On 17, we are going to bluebell truck or distribute that square root of 15, aren't we? Okay, so we're going to write down 3 times the square root of 15 plus 5 times 15 is 75. Okay, now then, let's just prime factor these so you see what's going to happen. The square root of 15 is going to be 3 times 5. Do any of those repeat? I cannot simplify the square root of 15, can I? If none of the prime factors repeat, you leave the square root as is. Type in 75 in prime factor. So if you hit menu, number, factor, 75, enter, you get 3 times 5 times 5. I could pull out 5s, can I? So I could simplify the square root of 75, but I can't the square root of 15. So I'm going to get 3 square root of 15 plus the 5 pulls out and the 3 stays inside. The only thing I have to do now is change the order, right? I cannot add the square roots up because they're not the same, but the 3 should go first. So the final answer will be 5 square root of 3 plus 3 square root of 15. In your answer, you want the square roots to go from small to big. Ho, 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 ho. Let me erase this a little bit. Let's go to the next one. And let's go to the right. I'm going to show you another set of notes here, just so you get the hang of this. Write down the square root of, let's do the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. Okay, remember, we're going to multiply the numbers inside, right? So I would get the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is just 3 in it. So what happens when you multiply a square root by itself? The square root goes away. So what would the square root of 5 times the square root of 5 be? The square root of 5 times the square root of 5 would be the square root of 25, which is 5 in it. So when you multiply by a square root by itself, the square root goes away and the radical stays there. And lastly, let's just do the square root of 7 times the square root of 7. Got to be 49, right? The square root of 49 is just 7. This just turns into 7, doesn't it? So when you multiply a square root by itself, the square root goes away and you just have the number inside the square root symbol. Okay, so let's go to number 19. Number 19, we are going to bluebell truck the square root of 5, aren't we? Now then, I'm going to have 5 square root of 5 plus the 4's on the outside. And what's 5 times 5? It's 25. What did I just tell you that 5 times square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is going to be? It's going to be 5 in it. So this is going to turn into 5 square root of 5 plus 4 times 5, right? The square root of 25 is just 5 in it. So 4 times 5 is 20, and it's just like letters and numbers. You put the constant at the end. So my final answer is going to be 5 square root of 5 plus 4 times 5 is 20. Ho, 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 ho. And I'm going to do one more with you. Let's do number 23 is going to be a bit harder. I'll do 23 with you. So let's distribute negative 5 square root of 5, negative 5 square root of 5. I'm going to multiply the outside numbers, multiply the inside numbers. So on this one, negative 5, and this is a 1 right here, right? It's going to be negative 5 square root of 25 plus negative 5, I'm sorry, this is a 1. 1 times negative 5 is a negative 5, and 5 times 2 is 10, isn't it? Okay, so I multiply the outside numbers, I multiply the inside numbers. I can simplify this, can I? I did the square root of 5 times the square root of 5. That's just going to turn into 5, isn't it? So this is going to be negative 5 times 5. Negative 5 times negative 5 is a negative 25, and this drops. And technically, you should put the constant last. So this would be the answer. Ho, 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 ho. Okay, what a blast. I don't know how to give you any more fun than that, okay? You are simplifying radical expressions. Next thing you'll be doing is driving a car. You're just turning into an adult right before your eyes. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Message me if you have any troubles. Remember, the key is posted. Make sure you can get the answers. See if you can match them up to the key. Have an awesome, awesome day. Remember, you are amazing. You were created to do wonderful things. And you are awesome.